welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode in my series, A Year in the Garden, a Week at a Time. We are 7 weeks before last frost date. So it's windy here again, and you're going to hear some wind noise in the camera. It's Easter weekend here, first weekend of April, and one thing I always do the first weekend of April is plant my potatoes and start my peas. So that's what we're going to be doing today. You saw me hauling in this black cow manure. Every year I get 10 bags of this from Home Depot. It's $5 a bag, and it's really good quality cow manure. So I always like to mix that into my containers to amend the soil. I think it just adds a lot of nutrients, low and slow feed, to my containers, which allows me to replant them over and over again. So that's what we're going to do today. Also, I'm going to start my peas. I start the peas in my greenhouse because you just never know what kind of nights we're going to get around here. The other morning we had 22 degrees. So that's pretty cold. So we're also going to be doing that this weekend. All right, let's get going here. So I have 7 of these blue containers here. And last year, I don't even remember what I had in these last year. But I didn't have potatoes in them last year. Now this one at the end here, I always put flowers in this one. I always put, go to the greenhouse and I buy something that trails. What do they call? A thriller, a filler, and a spiller. So I always fill that one with flowers. And then the rest of these are going to be filled with potatoes. Since I have 3 varieties of potatoes, I am going to put 2 buckets per variety of potato. The first thing I want to do is amend the soil. In addition to the black cow manure, I'm going to be amending these pots with a basic 10-10-10 fertilizer. I'm going to put some bone meal in here. This is phosphorus, so it's the middle number. And these are alfalfa pellets. I'm going to be putting these in there as well. This is a really good source of nitrogen for them. Okay, so basically I filled up the container with the black cow. You can see this is the first year that this is not just soaking wet. It's just smells really good. And it's a nice consistency. It's got some twigs in it, but other than that, it's really nice. There was about 3 inches of this that I put in. Then I'm just going to mix it up. Couple handfuls of the 10-10-10. Couple handfuls of the bone meal. Couple handfuls of the alfalfa pellets. That's ready for planting now. So these seed potatoes were pretty well chitted when I took them out of the bag, especially these red ones. These are red Norland. You can see they're pretty far along already. And they were like that when I took them out of the bag. Actually, all of these were started, but waiting a week allowed me to be able to cut them. So these are Yukon Golds, and they were pretty big potatoes, so I cut a lot of them. And the cuts are all healed now, nice and dry. So I can plant these all. It's true. So these are ready to go into the ground. So the spacing at which you plant your potatoes will determine how big your potatoes get. You're supposed to plant them anywhere from 18 to 24 inches apart, and that will give you more potatoes, bigger potatoes. I don't necessarily want bigger potatoes. I like the little potatoes. So for me, planting them in these pots is fine. You know, I get potatoes about this size. Some little potatoes, which I really like the little potatoes. And it's fine for me. I'm single. I don't have to worry about feeding a family. But if you're feeding a family, I would maybe only put 2 or 3 potatoes in a pot like this. Now when you want to put them down about 6 inches deep, you do not need to hill these potatoes. It says on the package to hill them, but you don't need to do that with these because they're determinate potatoes. They're not going to grow continuously up the stem. You may get a few more potatoes if you go through the hilling process, but I find that it's just not worth my time to do that. So you can use one of these bulb planters, and you want to go right about up to here. This soil is really, really loose, so I would have no problem digging in here. Oh, wait, I want to put a little handful of alfalfa pellets, and then I fill it back up again. That's no problem. If your soil, my arm's in front of you, sorry. If your soil isn't as loose, you can get one of these. But I find that with this loose soil, it doesn't work quite as well. So, do that over again. Just shake it back and forth. Ahead of myself here, and then put the soil back on. So that's all there is to planting potatoes. This is the method I've used for a really long time. It serves me well, and I always get a pretty good crop of potatoes out of it. You'll need to give them a good drink of water. We right now are in a drought, in southeastern Wisconsin. So we've got all these like fire dangers, and there was a wildfire not too far from here. So I'm gonna have to water these. This week we're expecting, I think it's like 3 to 5 inches of rain. I hope we get it because we're so dry here. But I'm still gonna give these a good drink of water, and then they will be set to go. They will emerge in about 2 to 3 weeks. And by that time, the danger of a really hard frost, like I don't think we'll get any more 22-degree mornings. You know, hopefully not anyway. So that's what we're gonna do. Just give them a good drink of water and they should be fine. So the potatoes are all planted. The next thing I'm gonna plant are my peas. I have a snow pea and a sugar snap pea. And I am not going to start these in the ground. I am going to start these in these trays. Because I'm going to start them in the greenhouse, and I don't want them to be outside just yet. I like to plant them in the trays. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Plant them in the trays. I can then see how many are in here, how many germinate, and then I can put them out in the garden right about when they're about that tall and they're just starting to get their tendrils on them. So that's what I like to do. So I'm going to take this, fill it up with dirt. So I want to put a hole in here in each one of these about 1 inch deep. So I'm going to do that to every one of these. Now I'm going to take some of this inoculant and I'm going to put a little bit in every hole. Okay, now I'm going to drop 2 of each of these in every hole. If you want, you can soak these. Some people soak them like, 24 hours before they plant them. I've done that, and I've not soaked them, and it really doesn't make a difference. Okay, then I just top them all off with a little bit of soil. I will give these a really good drink of water. These will stay outside during the day, and they will go in the greenhouse at night. And we'll probably keep them for 3, maybe 4 weeks before I plant them out in the garden. So I thought I'd give you a quick quote, tour, unquote. These are herbs, all herbs here. Cilantro, dill, flat leaf and curly leaf parsley, all in here. My onions, doing very well. Some lettuces, these will go in the garden soon. So here are my peppers. These are the ones that I just potted up last week, and they just took off. You can see they're all looking really good. I just gave them all a really good drink of water because they were in the greenhouse and it's warm in there. And tomatoes. Here, 2 trays of tomatoes. I have filled them up a little bit. So, and I just watered them, that's why they're all flopping over, like this one. He's all floppy because I just watered them. So they're all doing really well as well. These are the peas I just planted. They got a good drink of water. And these are all flowers. So we got cosmos, zinnias, calendula here. Inoculant here and here. These are morning glories. These are grandiflora here, Persian jewels, and these are all bachelor buttons. And then I have a whole tray full of marigolds. My winter sowing. It's kale, no, cabbage. More cabbage. Broccoli. More broccoli. This is tetsoi. Spinach. Kohlrabi. This is lettuce. I don't know if that's going to come up. Kale. This is mizuna. This is broccoli. These are mini cabbages. And this I don't know what that is. We'll find out. What does it look like? It's spinach. That's what it is. Can you see that? So these are all doing really well. I've got a blackbird here who feels like giving me a solo. Now sing. Now he's shy. There he goes. Okay, so these are all doing really well. I could probably plant the spinach and the kale, but I'm just going to wait a couple more weeks. That is going to do it for this episode at 7 weeks before last frost date. Things are really starting to pop around here. We're having some warm weather, a nice warm spell, so a lot of this stuff can stay outside all night now because our nights are around 50 degrees. Once they start dipping into the 40s, then I'll take a lot of the cold sensitive plants back in. The peppers and the tomatoes and probably the flowers as well. But the herbs can stay outside now in the greenhouse. They'll be perfectly fine as long as they're under cover. I think this week we are going to get below freezing for a few of the nights. So they'll be fine in the greenhouse. But if you don't have a greenhouse, you could probably just put them under cover of some sort. Whether it be plastic or just throw a tarp over them or whatever, and they'll be fine. Because herbs, remember, herbs are basically weeds, and they do fine. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you're looking for I did a full potato planting video, I think it was a couple years ago now. I will put a link to it down in the description box below if you wanted it in a little more detail. My methods really haven't changed that much over the years. But other than that, that's going to be it for this week. I hope you have a great week. If you celebrate, happy Easter to you. And until next time, happy gardening, everybody. Bye-bye.